sometimes the deepest wounds are inflicted by those who claim to love us the most. The words echoed in my mind as I stood at my office window, watching the city lights flicker in the gathering dusk. It was something my father had told me just weeks before his sudden death, when I was 16. Back then, I couldn't understand what he meant. Now, at 35, those words haunted me with crystal clarity. My phone buzzed on the desk, displaying Olivia's name. My younger sister, always the bearer of demands disguised as casual requests. I let it ring 3 times before answering, buying myself a few precious seconds to slip back into the role I'd played for so long, the reliable older sister, the family cornerstone, the eternal safety net. "Hey Jess," Olivia's voice chirped through the speaker, that familiar tone that always preceded a favor. "Got a minute? It's about Mom's birthday." I shuffled some quarterly reports aside, half listening as I scanned the numbers before me. "Sure, what's up?" "So, you know Mom's turning 62 in 2 months, right?" She paused for effect. "Well, we're planning something special, and we need everyone to chip in." That got my attention. I sat up straighter, pen hovering over the page. "Okay, how much are we talking about?" When Olivia named the figure, I nearly choked on my coffee. $3,800. More than I'd spent on my last vacation, which, come to think of it, was 3 years ago. "I know it's a lot," Olivia rushed to add, "but it's for Mom, you know? And everyone's contributing." Everyone. Right. The same everyone who had relied on my financial support through college, through wedding preparations, through down payments on houses. The same everyone who seemed to forget those contributions whenever a new expense arose. "And one more thing," she continued, her voice taking on that careful tone that made my stomach clench. "Make sure you take a week off work in March. Don't plan anything else for that time, okay?" As I agreed, because that's what I always did, I caught my reflection in the window. In the darkening glass, I could see the ghost of my 16-year-old self, standing in our family kitchen the night Dad died, making the same promise I'd been keeping for 19 years, "I'll take care of everything." But this time, something felt different. Maybe it was the weight of all those years pressing down on me, or maybe it was Dad's words surfacing from the depths of memory. Whatever it was, as I hung up the phone, I couldn't shake the feeling that this birthday celebration would change everything. I just didn't know yet how right I was. The story I'm about to tell you isn't just about a family celebration gone wrong. It's about the promises we keep until they break us, the love we give until it hollows us out, and the moment we finally realize that sometimes, the most courageous act of love is learning to say no. This is how I learned that lesson. And how it cost me everything I thought I couldn't live without, only to give me everything I never knew I needed. My name is Jessica, and this is the story of how I lost my family to save myself. The memories always come back clearer at night. Maybe it's the silence, or maybe it's the way darkness strips away the pretenses we maintain in daylight. Tonight, as I sit in my corner office, I can see it all as if it happened yesterday. I was 16, doing homework at the kitchen table, when the police came to our door. "Heart attack," they said. Quick and unexpected. Dad was gone before the ambulance arrived. In the chaos that followed, Mom's collapse, my sister's hysteria, I found myself standing at that same kitchen table, staring at the half-finished math problems I'd never complete. In that moment, I made a choice that would shape the next 19 years of my life. "I'll handle everything," I told Mom, my voice steadier than I felt. "Just rest. I'll take care of it all." And I did. I handled the funeral arrangements while maintaining my grades. I got a scholarship to college while working part-time to help with bills. I supported Olivia through her teaching degree and Ashley through her rocky first marriage. I became the person everyone counted on, the one who never said no. Until now. My phone buzzes again, another text from Olivia. "Don't forget to transfer the money. We need it by Friday." I stare at the message, Dad's words echoing once more, "Sometimes the deepest wounds are inflicted by those who claim to love us the most." What would he think if he could see us now? His eldest daughter, successful on paper but emotionally bankrupted by the very family she'd sacrificed everything to support? The city lights blur as I blink back unexpected tears. Somewhere out there, beyond the gleaming towers and endless streets, a decision is waiting to be made. A decision that will either maintain the chains I've forged link by link over 19 years, or shatter them completely. The question is, am I finally ready to make it? I open my banking app, staring at the balance that represents countless overtime hours and sacrificed weekends. The cursor blinks in the transfer amount field, waiting for my decision. $3,800. In the past, I wouldn't have hesitated. Family first, that's what Dad always said. But Dad also said something else that last month, something I'd pushed to the back of my mind because it didn't fit with the role I'd assigned myself. We were in his study, and I was telling him about skipping the school trip to help with bills. "Jessie," he said, using my childhood nickname, "being a good daughter doesn't mean erasing yourself." At the time, I thought I understood. Now, watching my finger hover over the transfer button, I realize I never really listened. My office phone rings, the landline this time. It's Ashley, my other sister. "Hey, did you talk to Olivia? About Mom's birthday?" "Yeah, I was just about to transfer the money," I reply automatically. "Great. You're always so reliable, Jess. Not like some people." There's a pause, then, "Oh, and can you watch Nathan this weekend? Mark's parents are visiting, and you know how they get with too much noise." I find myself agreeing before I even process the request. It's muscle memory at this point, say yes, figure out how later. But as I hang up, Dad's voice echoes again, "Being a good daughter doesn't mean erasing yourself." I look at my reflection in the darkening window. In the glass, I see three versions of myself: the 16-year-old who promised to handle everything, the 35-year-old who's kept that promise far too long, and somewhere between them, a shadow of someone I could have been, someone who knew how to love without losing herself. The question isn't whether I can afford $3,800. The question is, what's the real price I've been paying all these years? And more importantly, am I willing to keep paying it? The family dinner that Saturday changed everything. The familiar scent of Mom's pot roast filled the house, mingling with the sounds of my nieces and nephews running through the halls. Nathan was showing his cousins a new video game, while Madison trailed after them, desperate to be included. The scene should have been heartwarming. Instead, it felt like the calm before a storm. I'd transferred the money that morning, not because I wanted to, but because the alternative seemed impossible to face. 19 years of conditioning doesn't break easily. "Everyone to the table." Mom called, her voice carrying that special tone reserved for family gatherings. The one that promised important announcements and carefully orchestrated revelations. We gathered around the dining table, Mom and her three daughters, Aunt Patricia and her kids, the usual chaos of family dinners surrounding us. Dad's empty chair at the head of the table seemed to watch us all, a silent witness to what was about to unfold. "So," Olivia said, pushing her carrots around her plate with calculated casualness, "we finally got everything arranged for Mom's birthday." She paused, letting the anticipation build. "We're all going to spend a week at Pine Ridge Resort." The table erupted in excited chatter. Mom was beaming, Ashley was already discussing which spa treatments she wanted to try, and the kids were bouncing in their seats at the mention of the indoor water park. I sat there, fork frozen halfway to my mouth, as the pieces clicked into place. The money. The week off work. The careful way they'd avoided giving me details until now. Why wasn't I involved in any of the planning? I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "This is the first time I'm hearing about the actual plans, and you've already arranged everything?" The table got quiet. Too quiet. Mom cleared her throat, and I felt my stomach drop before she even opened her mouth. "Actually, honey," she said with that tone, that terrible, gentle tone that always preceded an impossible request, "we were hoping you could do us all a huge favor and watch the kids while we're there." I stared at my family gathered around the dinner table, waiting for someone to laugh, to say it was all a joke. But the silence stretched on, broken only by the soft clink of silverware against plates. "You want me to watch the kids?" I finally managed to say. "All 5 of them?" My mind automatically counted them off: Nathan, Madison, the twins Benjamin and Sophia, and little Oliver. 5 kids under the age of 8. "Well, you're so good with them," Mom said, as if that explained everything. "They love their Aunt Jessica." I looked around the table again, still hoping to see a hint of humor in someone's eyes. There was none. Just expectant faces waiting for my usual yes. But that's not fair, I heard myself say, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. I want to celebrate with everyone too. It's Mom's birthday. Ashley put down her fork with a sigh. Come on, Jess, you'll be bored there anyway. It's going to be noisy and crowded. Bored? I repeated. How would you know if I'd be bored? Well, she continued, exchanging glances with Olivia, you're great with the kids. They adore you, and let's be honest, it's not like you need a break from family life. I felt my chest tighten. What's that supposed to mean? Olivia jumped in, her voice carrying that condescending tone she'd perfected over the years. She just means that you don't have children or a husband to get away from. The rest of us need this break. You understand, right? The green beans on my plate blurred as I blinked back tears. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me cry. Instead, I quietly pushed back my chair and stood up. Jessica. Mom's voice held a note of concern, but not enough to actually stop me. Without a word, I grabbed my purse from the counter and headed for the door. Nobody moved to stop me. Nobody called out. The only sound that followed me was Mom's voice drifting from the dining room. Don't worry, she'll come around. She always does. The evening air was crisp against my face, helping to clear my head. 19 years of putting everyone else first, of being the responsible one, the reliable one, and this is what I got in return. The worst part wasn't even the babysitting request. It was the casualness with which they'd assumed I'd agree. The way they planned this whole thing without me, using my money, my time, my vacation days without even asking, as if I was just a resource to be used, not a member of the family to be included. I drove home in a daze, memories flooding back. There I was at 16, making dinner while Mom helped Ashley with her homework. Me at 21, working 2 jobs during college to help pay for Olivia's prom dress. Every special occasion where I was behind the camera instead of in the photos. Every holiday where I was in the kitchen while everyone else laughed in the living room. When was the last time someone had asked me what I wanted? The next morning, my phone was flooded with messages. Olivia, you're being ridiculous. Mom's so upset. Ashley, stop being dramatic. It's just babysitting. Mom, I raised you better than this. Aunt Patricia, the kids were counting on you. Each message felt like another brick in the wall they'd built around me, a wall made of expectations, obligations, and guilt. But for the first time, instead of trying to climb it, I found myself wanting to break it down. I opened my laptop and started searching. Within an hour, I had booked a beachfront hotel in the Caribbean, nothing too fancy, but it had a balcony overlooking the ocean and was within walking distance to everything I might need. I even splurged on a first-class plane ticket. After all, I had plenty of money since I wouldn't be going to Pine Ridge. The next few days at work were surprisingly peaceful. My family had stopped calling and texting, they probably thought I was home preparing for a week of childcare. Maybe buying extra snacks and planning activities. The thought made me smile as I packed my beach clothes and new swimsuit. Taking a tropical vacation in the middle of winter, my colleague Janet asked when she saw me checking the Caribbean weather forecast. Sometimes you need to do something unexpected, I replied, surprised by how good it felt to say those words out loud. That evening, as I was finalizing my travel preparations, my phone buzzed with a group text from Olivia, family meeting tomorrow night. Mandatory. We need to discuss your behavior. I stared at the message, feeling the old guilt rising up, but this time, something else rose with it. Anger. Pure, clarifying anger. Who were they to demand a meeting about my behavior? Who were they to judge my choices when they'd been making choices for me for 19 years? I typed out a response, deleted it, typed another. Finally, I settled on, I won't be attending. I have plans. The response was immediate. Multiple bubbles appeared as everyone typed at once. You always do this. So selfish. Think about the children. Your mother is crying. I turned off my phone and finished packing. The Caribbean was waiting, and for once in my life, I was choosing myself. Freedom tastes like salt air and coconut sunscreen. My first morning in the Caribbean, I woke up to the sound of waves instead of urgent text messages. The sun was streaming through the balcony doors, painting patterns on the white sheets. For the first time in years, I had nowhere to be, no one to take care of, nothing to organize or manage. It felt terrifying. And wonderful. I switched on my phone briefly, curious despite myself. The screen immediately lit up with notifications. Dozens of missed calls. Hundreds of messages. I scrolled through them quickly. Olivia, where are you? The kids are crying. Ashley, this is completely irresponsible. We're standing outside your house. Mom, please answer your phone. We're worried sick. Aunt Patricia, the resort won't refund our deposit. How could you do this to us? I could picture the scene perfectly, my family gathered outside my empty apartment, suitcases packed, 5 confused children asking where Aunt Jessica was. The thought should have filled me with guilt. Instead, I felt something else, relief. Good morning. A cheerful voice called out. I looked up from my phone to see a woman in yoga clothes rolling out a mat on the beach below my balcony. I'm Lily. First time here. 20 minutes later, I found myself on a borrowed yoga mat, attempting a warrior pose as the morning sun warmed my skin. Lily, it turned out, was a former corporate lawyer who'd left her practice to teach yoga in the Caribbean. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is disappoint the people we love, she said, helping me adjust my stance. Especially when they've confused love with control. Around us, other hotel guests were joining the class. There was Maria, a single mother who'd left her controlling ex-husband. Patricia, not my aunt, who'd walked away from a family business to start her own cafe. Jennifer, who'd divorced her husband of 20 years after realizing she'd lost herself in the role of perfect wife. As we moved through the poses, they shared their stories. Stories of breaking free, of choosing themselves, of surviving the guilt and emerging stronger. With each story, I felt something inside me unfurling, like a flower finally finding sunlight. Back in my room after class, I found a new barrage of messages. Mom, your father would be so ashamed. Olivia, Mark and John refused to take time off work to watch the kids. This is all your fault. Ashley, hope you're happy. Mom's birthday is ruined. My father would be ashamed? I thought about Dad's last words to me about not erasing myself. About how the deepest wounds come from those who claim to love us most. No, Dad wouldn't be ashamed. He'd be sad that his family had become this. I turned off my phone again and headed to the beach. The day stretched before me, full of possibilities. I could read a book without interruption. Swim in the ocean without watching for children. Eat a meal without cutting anyone else's food. That evening, I joined a group of hotel guests for dinner at a beachside restaurant. The conversation flowed easily, unmarred by years of expectations and unspoken resentments. Nobody asked me to babysit. Nobody commented on my single status. Nobody reminded me of promises I'd made at 16. To freedom, Maria raised her glass. And to the courage to claim it. We all clinked glasses, and I felt tears prick my eyes, not tears of guilt or anger, but of recognition. These strangers understood something my family never had, that love shouldn't require the surrender of self. The week passed in a blur of yoga classes, beach walks, and long conversations with my new friends. Each day, I felt lighter, as if I was shedding layers of obligations and expectations like old skin. But on the 5th day, something changed. I was having breakfast on my balcony when my phone rang, not a family member this time, but Janet from work. Jess, I thought you should know, she said, her voice concerned. Your sister Olivia just posted something, well, you should see it. I opened social media for the first time since arriving. Olivia had shared a long post, complete with childhood photos of us. Family isn't just a word. It's a promise. A commitment. Something my sister seems to have forgotten. While our mother cries on what should have been her special day, while children ask why their beloved aunt abandoned them, while plans and dreams lie in ruins, she's off somewhere, living her selfish life. But karma has a way of teaching lessons. The comments section was worse. How horrible. Who abandons children like that? She'll regret this when she's old and alone. Some people don't deserve family. I was about to turn off my phone when a new notification appeared, a private message from Nathan, Ashley's 8-year-old son. Aunt Jess, are you mad at us? Mommy says you don't love us anymore. But I remember when I was scared of thunderstorms, and you taught me to count between lightning and thunder to know if the storm was moving away. Are you like the storm, Aunt Jess? Should I count to know if you're coming back? My hands shook as I read his message. This was the cost of freedom, not just my own pain, but the confusion of innocent children caught in adult battles. I started typing a reply, then stopped. How could I explain to an 8-year-old that sometimes love means walking away? That his aunt wasn't abandoning him, but saving herself? That's when Lily knocked on my door. Beach meditation in 10 minutes, she called out. We're practicing letting go today. On the beach, as the sun rose higher in the sky, Lily spoke about the difference between guilt and responsibility. Guilt is what others put on us, she said. Responsibility is what we choose to carry. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a new message. A group text from my sisters. Ashley, mom's in bed crying. She won't eat. Olivia, hope you're proud of yourself. Aunt Patricia, your cousin Rachel saw you on someone's Instagram. A beach? Really? While your family suffers. I looked at their messages, then at the ocean stretching endlessly before me. The same ocean that had witnessed countless stories of liberation, of people breaking free from chains they'd worn so long they'd forgotten they were chains. Your turn, Lily said softly, holding out a piece of paper and a pen. Write down what you need to let go of. I stared at the blank paper, pen hovering above its surface. Words began to flow, each one a weight I'd carried for so long. I wrote about the promise I made at 16, standing in our kitchen the night Dad died. About the guilt that was never mine to carry, but that had been placed on my shoulders by others. About my role as the eternal caretaker, a position I never applied for but somehow inherited. I wrote about my fear of being called selfish, and how that fear had shaped every decision I'd made. Finally, I wrote about my desperate need for their approval, a need that had become a prison of its own making. As I watched my words burn in the small meditation fire Lily had prepared, something shifted inside me. The guilt was still there, but it no longer felt like a weight. It felt like a choice I was finally free to reject. That evening, I sat down at my laptop and began to write a response to Nathan. Dear Nathan. Yes, I'm like the storm, but not in the way you think. Sometimes storms come not to destroy, but to clear the air. To make space for new growth. I love you, that will never change. But I'm learning that loving you doesn't mean I have to stop loving myself. As I wrote, I could hear laughter from the beach below, where Maria's children were building sandcastles with their mom, proof that there were other ways to be a family, other ways to show love. My phone buzzed again. Another group text. Mom, if you ever loved your family, you'll come home right now. Olivia, we've called every hotel in the Caribbean. We'll find you eventually. Ashley, you can't run away from family forever. I looked at their messages, then at the half-written letter to Nathan on my screen. They were right about one thing, I couldn't run forever. But maybe I didn't need to run. Maybe I just needed to stand my ground. I opened my email and began to compose a new message. Dear family. For 19 years, I've tried to be everything you needed. Now it's time for me to be what I need. 6 months can change everything. I returned from the Caribbean to find my apartment lock had been changed, Mom's doing, no doubt, using the emergency key I'd given her years ago. It didn't matter. I'd already arranged for a new place, a sunlit corner unit in a secure building across town where no one had spare keys to my life. The first signs of my family's unraveling came through social media. Olivia's carefully curated posts about perfect family dinners gave way to bitter complaints about her husband's increasing work hours. The truth emerged through mutual friends. After the failed resort trip, Mark had refused to keep funding her excessive spending. Without my regular loans to bail her out, her credit cards were maxed out. Ashley's marriage was next. Her husband had apparently grown tired of her constant criticism and need for control, the same traits she'd always used against me. Their separation announcement came with a particularly ironic twist. She needed someone to watch Nathan 3 days a week while she found herself. Her message asking for my help went unanswered. Mom's social standing in her beloved church group took a hit when the truth about the resort fiasco spread. Her version of events, her selfless eldest daughter cruelly abandoning the family, backfired when someone mentioned the thousands of dollars I'd contributed over the years. The whispers about her manipulative behavior grew louder, and her phone stopped ringing with invitations. Aunt Patricia's twins were caught shoplifting at the mall. "They need a stable influence," she texted me. "They always listen to you." I scrolled past the message, just like I scrolled past the dozens of others that arrived each week, each one a thinly veiled attempt to pull me back into their chaos. Meanwhile, my own life bloomed. The friends I'd met in the Caribbean kept in touch, our group chat filled with stories of personal growth and small victories. Lily visited for a week, teaching yoga classes at my new neighborhood studio. Maria's daughter came to intern at my company, staying in my guest room and filling my home with the kind of youthful energy that asked nothing in return. The final confrontation came at a grocery store, of all places. I was picking out mangoes, remembering the fresh fruit breakfasts in the Caribbean, when I heard Mom's voice. "So this is what you choose over family? Fruit." She looked older than I remembered, the lines around her mouth deeper, her eyes harder. Behind her stood Olivia, designer purse notably absent, wearing the strained expression of someone whose carefully constructed world was crumbling. "I didn't choose fruit over family," I replied, my voice calm. "I chose myself over servitude." "We're drowning without you," Olivia burst out. "Everything's falling apart. The kids miss you, the bills are piling up, Ashley's divorce." "That sounds difficult," I said, selecting another mango. "I recommend a good financial advisor. And perhaps a family therapist." "How can you be so cold?" Mom demanded, her voice rising. Other shoppers were starting to stare. "After everything we've done for you." "Everything you've done for me?" I finally turned to face them fully. "Let's talk about everything I've done for you. Shall we calculate the exact amount I've spent supporting this family since Dad died? Should we count the hours I've given up, the opportunities I've missed, the life I put on hold? Or should we discuss how you used my grief and loyalty to turn me into your personal ATM and unpaid nanny?" Mom's face went pale. Olivia stepped back. "The funny thing is," I continued, my voice still steady, "I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just done. Your problems are your problems. Your choices are your choices. Your children are your responsibility. You'll regret this," Mom said, but her voice wavered. "When you're old and alone." "I'm not alone," I cut in. "I have real friends now. People who value me for who I am, not what I can do for them. People who understand that love doesn't come with a price tag or a guilt trip." I placed the mangoes in my basket, selected a few more for good measure. "I wish you all the best with your lives. I truly do. But I won't be part of them anymore." As I walked away, I heard Olivia's hushed voice, "What are we going to do?" Mom's response was lost in the store's ambient noise, but it didn't matter. Their problems were no longer my responsibility. That evening, I sliced one of the mangoes and carried it out to my balcony. The sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, reminiscent of my Caribbean mornings. My phone buzzed with a message from Maria. Her daughter had received a job offer and wanted to celebrate. Below my balcony, a young family walked by, their children's laughter floating up on the evening breeze. I smiled, feeling nothing but peace. The weight of 19 years of obligation had finally lifted, leaving behind something unexpected: freedom. My father's words came back to me one last time: sometimes the deepest wounds are inflicted by those who claim to love us the most. He was right, but he'd left out the most important part: sometimes the greatest healing comes from walking away. I took another bite of mango, savoring its sweetness. In my empty apartment, with my peacefully silent phone and my drama-free life, I had found something my family had never understood: the joy of being whole on my own terms. The sun set on another day of my new life, a life where guilt was no longer welcome, where love didn't require sacrifice, and where family was something you chose, not something you owed. And I chose myself.